right. Hi, ambassadors. Welcome to the first Ambassador Spotlight. This is Ambassador Spotlight number 1 with Becky Flack. Becky, you are an amazing ambassador, and was my first choice for this first one because I think you have a lot to share with people, and I'm excited to have you on. You've had incredible success the last, I don't know, 2 years. Have you been doing about 2 years, right?
Mhm.
Something like
Yes.
that? Okay, cool. Yeah. So as we move forward in the 100-day challenge, I'm going to bring in a bunch of different people to talk about what they're doing in the challenge and how they're succeeding within the challenge. But because the challenge just started, I wanted to start with someone who's had a lot of success over a long period of time, and you fit that bill. So I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit, maybe your qualifications and whatever else you feel is relevant.
Sure. I'm an IHP level 2, and I have 4 amazing kids. I have 5 grandkids and 1 on the way, and I live in Farmington, New Mexico most of the week. I also have a place in Durango, Colorado that I spend the weekends there and work from there as well.
So can you tell me how you became interested in becoming an integrative health practitioner, and just your interest in integrative health in general? What sparked that? Usually everybody
Sure.
has a spark or a flashpoint, right?
Sure. I kind of went through this a little bit on the podcast with Julia recently, but I had been chronically ill for over 20 years. I had chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, a whole list of things. And so when I found Dr. Cabral and started listening to his podcast, that just really resonated with me and the journey that I was on. And so I started, doing some detoxing in the Big 5 labs and working on those root causes. And, that's what brought me here.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a very familiar theme with most people, in that they had some health challenge, and it was in some cases it's a last resort. In some cases they, through their research they found something that resonated. But yeah, I think that's a very common thread within this community. And then you mentioned you found Dr. Cabral, so I'm assuming that's the step you took to turn to IHP specifically, and then once you became an IHP, you became an ambassador in turn.
Yes. As I started doing the work, I had heard about the IHP program. And so I thought, I had worked with my husband in our own business for 25 years, and I didn't really need another job. Our children were older, but I thought, I'm going to just take these certifications for my own knowledge. For my own health journey, I want this information. And so I started the program, and I just I was learning so much, and I kind of discovered that was my passion, and I was so excited about it. Then I just couldn't keep my mouth shut. I had to kind of try to help everybody else. And so yeah, and then I soon after that I became an ambassador, and where I, could go ahead and get my commissions on the products because I was doing quite a few protocols and lab tests.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah. And what was your business with your husband previously? Just curious.
We have a fastener business,
Okay.
industrial
Cool.
fasteners. So we support the oil field, the power plants, just a lot of different things.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting, because the reason I ask is because a lot of, people think like, oh, maybe you were a doctor or a nurse before, and that's not the case. I mean, it's the case for some people, but for a lot of other people, it's not the case. When we talked to Jeffrey Mort last year, he was, I believe, involved in construction. So actually kind of similar to you, which is
Right.
totally not
Not
really
medical.
related to the integrative health field at all. So I was just curious. Um, so what would you say was the most important first step in starting your health coaching business?
Well, I think just, moving through those modules, building your knowledge, the research and the study that went along with that. I think the business experience that I had, I do all the invoicing and the taxes and the bookkeeping.
Mhm.
And so I was able to kind of bring that in. I kind of knew what it was going to take to start a new business and how much work it was going to take. I knew it was not just going to fall in my lap. I was going to have to go out there and work for it. I knew that I had to be patient, that it wasn't going to happen that first week or two out. It was going to take
Yeah.
some time to kind of get, the money back on the investments that I had made up front. And so I think that really gave me a basis, just knowing how to start a business and knowing what to expect that first little bit.
Yeah, that's got to be like a huge advantage to having kind of gone through that in a different sense, because business is business, whether you're a practitioner or whether you're selling fasteners and stuff. There's certain, I guess, realities in business that kind of apply across the board, and
Right.
that's interesting that helped you, that business experience helped you.
Mhm.
And then can you speak to some maybe trepidations you had when starting your business? Because I think that's pretty common for anybody who starts any kind of business. There's usually trepidations and things that you're worried about. And I don't know, I don't want you to get necessarily too vulnerable, but if you have one or two that you could share.
Sure, sure. I think for me, it was time management. That was my biggest concern because I had my other obligations with my other business. I have my family and that I take care of, and I also had my health journey that I wasn't completely,
Right.
finished up with too. And so I had to really, how much time am I going to be able to set aside to be able to do this to help others? And I knew early on that I could have grown this business to be very big. I could bring other practitioners in. I could make this big. But I had to, after the conference last year, I really kind of sat down with myself and said, what is your purpose? And are you aligning with your purpose to go that big? And how much of this do you really want? And so, I had to kind of hire some help on the other end to take some of
Mm.
those duties, to free me up. I still only work wellness 3 days a week, and they're usually pretty full days, but that seems to be a good balance for me and my other obligations.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I guess that's kind of ties in. I was going to ask you how you, kind of overcame those trepidations, but I think you touched upon it, talking about how you wanted to make sure that you were aligned with your purpose, and then when you needed some help, you hired some help. I see a lot of folks doing that in the community, hiring virtual assistants and stuff
Mhm.
to assist them. So I think that's great. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, or if that I think that covers it
Yeah, and
kind of.
I've been looking into that too. I've worked with some other IHPs that have helped me, kind of get some programs and different things going for me. And the social media is not my strong suit. And so, I'm kind of looking for some help with that, just to kind of help me with the posting, since I'm so busy on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
to kind of come in and help me with some of that social media, would be really helpful.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then that's super important because I think repetition on social media is important as well.
Mhm.
Um, in my limited experience doing some social stuff years ago in an internship, I know that it was you had to have a schedule and it's posting every day on all different platforms, and just to keep yourself top of mind, even if you're not getting the engagement, just to put yourself out there consistently and people see it and then they get used to seeing it, and then maybe they make a decision at some point down the road. So yeah,
Right.
it's definitely a bit of a commitment, because you can't just post once a month and be done with it if you want to do it.
Mhm.
So I could
Right.
definitely see that. And then what's one thing that it would be helpful for you when you first started to know that you know now? So something, sorry, I worded that question weird, but something that you know now that would have been helpful to know when you first started.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I think just that you don't have to know everything to get started.
Hmm.
And that's one thing. I've done some Elevate classes with Dr. Jennifer, and it's one thing that she taught me that I hold with me. And she says, I was talking about, being anxious going into a consult or something. And she's like, it's enough that you took the time to be there and sit across from them,
Hmm.
and you care enough to listen to them. And so, still to this day, when I'm kind of anxious and I've got a really intense consult coming up and I'm going in, those words come back to me, and it's like, it's enough because I'm here. And I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed, we're so afraid they're going to ask us something we don't know the answer to. And I remember asking Dr. Cabral that in the business mentor experience, what do I do if they ask me a question I don't know? And he says, well, you say, that's a really good question. I'll check on it and I'll get back to you. And so I've done that a couple of times, but I just think, they know so much more than they think they know at that point. And just not to be, too hard on themselves that they have to know everything before they can start.
Yeah. No, I think that's such useful advice just in life in general. Just kind of taking the plunge and not waiting till everything is perfect, because it'll never be perfect, and I
Right.
guess you'll just be kind of frozen in time.
Mhm.
That portion, and also just the ability to admit if you don't know something. People, I think that's such a common thing. I know I struggle with it still, even though I try to be more conscious of it, is just um saying I don't know. I'll try to find out for you, but I don't know. People think it
Mhm.
makes you look stupid, or it's weakness if you don't know something right in the moment, but nobody knows everything, right? And it probably means your clients are asking um quality questions too, right? Because if they were easy questions, you'd be able to answer them like nothing. So I think that's probably a good indication too of that exchange. So I'm going to shift gears now a little bit and kind of move more towards your business, and focus on how you kind of run that. So the first thing is, and I think this is something that a lot of people kind of talk about and wonder about, is how do you strike the balance between, giving your clients the best care possible, caring for your clients, being there for your clients, but also running a financially viable business. I mean, we are running a business here. So, I mean, you can help as many people as you want on a charitable basis, but if you want to run a business, there needs to be financial viability. And I'm wondering how you strike that balance, because a lot of people think it's hard. They're not incompatible with each other, but they're hard to reconcile, I guess, with each other, right?
Right, right. Yeah, my husband and I laughed, when I first got started, I had the best nonprofit organization around, because I was doing so much
Yeah,
for people until you kind of, get that figured out. But, the client always comes first, no matter what. Over any kind of financial gain, them
true.
and their needs always comes first. But you also have to keep in mind that you are running a business. And if you're not making good business decisions and you're not bringing that income in, then you're not going to be in business next year this time. And so it is kind of, finding that area, for me, it wasn't so much about the money. I do this more, because it fulfills me. But for those, that are just getting started, they have to kind of weigh that and be able to do both,
Mm.
because you do want to get those clients the results. And, a really wise person told me, if you're looking for clients in the Walmart parking lot, you're going to find Walmart clients.
Yeah, yeah.
Look for clients in the Neiman Marcus parking lot. um so you do have to, we all want to help everyone, and we don't want it to be financially based.
Sure.
But the thing is it takes a certain amount of funds for these people to pay for your services, to buy the protocols, and to buy labs. And for me, the lab testing is the biggest part, that I love. And so, you just have to kind of find that ideal client, know where to look for them, and then bring those on.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting answer, and that analogy was really good. And I get what you're saying, and obviously you don't want to be exclusive, but at the same time, you need people willing to be able to make the investment in themselves too.
Mhm.
And we're working on making this kind of stuff more affordable for as many people, and I think we've done that with the at-home lab testing and stuff to an extent. But it's a work in progress. But um, I think
And
that's a really
I
interesting
definitely have
takeaway.
clients that don't have that financial capability, and I still work with them.
Right.
We work the de-stress protocol, and we do certain things, that they're able to do. It doesn't have to be that way all of the time. You can still work with those people that don't have the financial capability and still get them help.
Yeah, and I think at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably a bit of prioritization, right? So maybe you just focus on a couple things that for your base level health, maybe that's helpful. If they can't get everything, right?
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's super interesting. And I think that's something that people wonder about too all the time. So I've been with EquiLife since October of 2020, and unless my memory is failing me, you were not an ambassador back in October of 2020. Yeah. So because I've known people since like the day I started, I saw names that I still see today, and obviously I've seen tons of new people come on as well in that time. And I remember when you first came on, not the moment you joined the program, obviously, there's a lot of ambassadors we have. But I remembered when I started seeing your name and you started, you know, really performing, being one of the top performing ambassadors in a short period of time. And now you fast forward 2-ish years, right, since you started, and you're unquestionably one of our top ambassadors. So my question is, how did you build your business so quickly? Because not that it's a race or anything, but I think a lot of people would be interested to know how you made such a huge jump in such a short period of time. We have ambassadors that have been around for 4 years and they're doing great, but not everybody has such a meteoric rise, so to speak.
Right, right. Yeah, and I don't know if I even understand all of that myself sometimes, how that all happened, just working hard. But you know, the ambassador program has just been, a huge part of that success, because they give us the support that we need. They very fair in their dealings. They give us these amazing products, most of which I have used. And so when I'm talking with a client, I have the confidence to recommend that product
Mhm.
because I know what it has done for me personally. And so, when you can explain that, and the product inside and out, and when to apply it, and you can show that, how that they could gain from that, they just connect with that, and make that purchase. Because and I always tell them, you can buy this wherever you want to. You don't have to buy this from me. This is what I'm recommending. But
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, they're going to take that recommendation from you because you've built that connection with them and they trust that. And so when you say, I've used these, I know, and this is what I'm recommending, for the most part, they're going to follow suit with that and order those products too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I imagine that resonates much more if you can say, I take this product too, instead of just, hey, take this product so I can earn some money.
Right.
And that's the same thing, even coming down from the top, like Dr. Cabral uses the products on a daily basis too. So, it's not just here's our products, take them, and then I do something else,
Mm-hmm.
to,
Yeah.
to maintain my health or, whatever it may be. So, yeah, I think that's really important to have that personal connection and that personal experience. And then on the subject of ambassador commissions, how do you use ambassador commissions to kind of supplement your business? Because I know there's not one way to do it, right? So, I mean, you can just have people purchase and earn those commissions. Some people purchase kind of for their clients, and they build packages and sell packages, and they factor in what they're going to earn on commissions to figure out the pricing on their packages. So I'm just wondering, how do you go about it in your business model, if you don't mind sharing?
No, not at all. I keep it very simple. I have a very simple package that pretty much covers the consults and their time that I'm going to spend with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I give myself plenty of time to be able to go through those lab tests with them and spend that time with them doing that. But the commissions, as far as that's probably 40% of what I have coming in. My consults and the time that I'm spending in front of the client is probably 60%. So
Mm-hmm.
I am still selling to some of the first clients that I ever worked with. Maybe I'm not meeting with them in a consult
Right.
that month, but they're still purchasing that product because they're using those and they love those foundational products. And so it's kind of a residual business that you're building. You're not having to put those hours into that today,
Yeah.
but you still have that commission check coming in, at the end of the month. And that's huge. If you can sign someone up, on the IU1 subscription, and then they're linked to you on that purchase, and then it just goes out time after time. That's just, residual business. It's
Yeah.
a savings for the client. it's kind of a win-win situation there.
Yeah, I think that's a super important point, that last one, as far as getting people signed up with IU Bowen, because one, there's a lot of benefits to IU Bowen. But number two, it's those residual commissions, that's passive income at that point. Maybe it wasn't passive initially when you were consulting with the client, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone loves passive income, but there's nothing wrong with working for your income too.
Mm-hmm.
But once maybe they follow up with you and you speak to them here and there and consult with them and make sure they're on the right track. But those subscriptions every month is really true passive income, and that's, I think, really valuable to have that kind of baseline coming in. So I think that's something that I think people can take away, and if they can get their clients on subscriptions, and it's not just selling them, hey, get on a subscription so I can make money every month. Most of these products need to have continued use, right? I mean, I'm not the health practitioner here. You are, so I don't want to speak too much to this, but from working at the company a couple years now, I have a general understanding that you don't just do one detox and you're cured for life. I mean, it's like you said, foundational, and there's regimens. And even I've started to take some of our products now on a daily basis. And I'm health minded, but I wouldn't categorize myself as like a practitioner, of course, because I'm not. But I'm not even minded that way. I'm more of a marketer, and maybe a little bit of tech.
We'll win you over. We'll bring you over.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting there. I do the multivitamins and every day, and I like the gluten and dairy support on the weekends when I indulge a little bit more in things that I probably shouldn't. And the universal binder has been a game changer for me as well. So I use that as well. Yeah. And I'm doing quarterly detoxes now, which I never thought I would do. So
well, and I'm really excited, about the daily detox that just came out too. That's a great product. And
yes, and that's really good for like just from a daily perspective to kind of keep you on track and in between your detoxes, because you can't just keep doing detoxes, right? I mean, there's got to be some period of time in between. So yeah, that's like one of those like game-changing products, without trying to be hyperbolic about it. So here's another one that I think is really, I don't want to say pain point, because I think that's got a negative connotation, but really is something that people struggle with, is how do you broach the topic with your clients that you earn commissions on the products you recommend? Because the second, somebody says something like that, then there's people like me. I mean, not anymore, because I know what we're about. But if I was talking to somebody I didn't know and somebody said they make money off of this, hey, buy it. Automatically I'm skeptical. And I'm a skeptical person, but there's other skeptical people out there, So how do you combat that? And because you're going to run into that in certain instances, right?
Yeah. I am just very upfront, very transparent. I explain to them, my consults, I try to keep the price down on that a little bit. I do free 20-minute consults. I probably had one with them before we started working together. So they know that I do that. And I just put it out there, and I just tell them, if you feel comfortable to do so, I make a small commission on that. And that's how I keep my costs down. That's how I do free, 20-minute consults. That's how I work with some people that don't have the financial means to do that. And if you, feel comfortable to do that, if you'll click on that before you make your purchase, it would be very helpful. And I really don't find a lot of skepticism, coming back from the client, or, it's really funny because I don't know, maybe I just have the best clients in the world, but I'll be grocery shopping and get a message, and it's like, I'm placing an order and I can't find your link. Will you shoot it to me? So boy, yeah. I keep that right there on my phone. Here you go, And so they're just so good about it. And kind of once they figure that out and they know what you're going to do for them, they're not concerned about that, because they know that you're genuine and you're not gonna be doing something that is wrong. So
yeah, no, that's super insightful. Kind of building that equity with the client, and that trust. And also I think it's really an interesting call out, I think, for other people struggling with this is um, the fact that you offer that free consult, and then you can then say, and it's not you're not making it up, because it is true. How it works is I can give you that free consult in part because then I'll hopefully earn some commissions, eventually on this stuff.
Mhm.
But you've already given them something of value, so they
Right.
probably don't aren't as resistant to helping you out at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
And there's even, some of those clients that don't have that financial ability to work with me on a package,
yeah,
but they're interested in maybe doing some work. I'll tell them, if you use that link to make your purchases, I'll get a little commission off that, and that'll kind of help me, to at least get them started onto a protocol, and it just works really well.
yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. One of these, this is like a very specific question tailored to you, because I'm in the Facebook group all the time, and I'm kind of I think I have a decent pulse on the community as a whole. But I see all the time on people's posts that you comment, hey, I'm happy to help you. If you want to reach out to me, send me a message. You're constantly reaching out to others that are starting out and offering support and advice and whatever it may be. And I'm just wondering, like, where that, obviously it's some sort of natural inclination for you to kind of do that. So I'm wondering, like, where that comes from, and I guess obviously it's a selfless and helpful thing to do, but I guess what kind of spurs you to reach out and try to be of help to pretty much anyone who needs it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess that's just kind of who I am. It's the person that I have become and the person I strive to be. I think others helped me in that same manner when I was getting started, from Dr. Cabral and all of the things that he gave and the education that I have. Other IHPs have helped me when I was in need and had an intense case. They have sent me resources. They've answered questions for me. Daniel, Caitlin, Michelle, Julia, they've all helped me at some point to, overcome or answer a question or find something quickly that I needed. And what comes to mind for the most part on that is, when I started and I was coming on really fast, I had a Zoom call with Carl Rosendoff,
Yeah.
and I don't even think I understood the magnitude of. I definitely didn't understand the magnitude of what I was doing. And he told me, he says, I want you to go look in the mirror and just sit there for a minute and just take in what you are doing and what you're accomplishing. And that conversation meant so much to me. I don't think he'll ever know how badly I needed that from someone, especially someone in his position.
Hmm.
And that just gave me so much confidence then to, go out and do what I knew I was capable of doing. And so if I can, it's easy to give back when people have done that for you. And that's what I'm really trying to do, is pay that forward.
That's so awesome. Yeah, Carl's awesome. I work with him on a daily basis. He's an
Mhm.
incredible mentor, and he really, really cares about the ambassadors, and is very hands-on and always available to them. So that's really cool to hear.
Right.
I guess this might be a bit of a redundant question at this point, because you've sat here with me for a little over a half hour and and shared a lot of tips and how you structure your business. But is there any ever a hesitancy on your part to share like secrets and stuff, because maybe you've got a formula that works business wise, and maybe you're like, well, usually in business in general, you don't go out and broadcast what's working for you to your competition, right? Just in a general sense.
That's
So
true. That's
i-
true.
is there any hesitancy for that, or?
I've thought about that a little bit this week with the challenge. Some of them that I've worked with are ahead of me in the challenge, so maybe I've shared a little bit too much. But no, I'm so happy for them to see their business and they're growing. And if those sales are growing for them, just look at how many people they're helping if
Yeah.
they're getting that product and the lab tests out to those people. And so, that's my feeling on it, is if I can help the IHPs, and I've been working with them on several levels, just kind of helping them read the lab test and feel more confident with that. And getting their business kind of up and going, answering some questions and things like that. And so if I can help them to get out there and get them helping other people, then I've kind of had a little hand in that myself. And so that's further than I would ever be able to reach just by myself. And so I'm pretty much an open book. Um, with when I talk to an IHP, I'll tell them what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and we're really not in competition with each other. We all are, kind of have our own niche and doing our own thing in our own areas, and so I don't really ever feel like I'm in competition with them. And so, I have to admit that, working with the IHPs is I'm trying to find a balance with that time, because
Yeah.
it is affecting my ambassador commissions
Right.
with not working, with the one-on-one clients quite as much. So I'm just kind of trying to strike that balance, but I love that time that I'm spending with them too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so awesome. And I think the community is thankful to you for being such an open book all the time.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you.
What's one thing that I guess you appreciate the most about being an EquiLife ambassador, or what's like one perk that you enjoy the most?
Well, as far as perk, I think the highlight for me was last year. It's something that I will never forget. Being number 2 on the challenge,
Yeah.
getting that free trip to Florida, and being able to meet Dr. Cabral and Carl and all of you guys. And I got to eat dinner with Dr. Cabral at his table. I was called up on stage and given an award, which I did not know was coming. So I was a nervous wreck, but Carl and Dr. Cabral, gave me the award. And so just meeting all the IHPs and, all the staff, that's a highlight for me. And it stayed with me for about 6 months now. I'm ready to do it again. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we hope to see you again this year at the Reimagining Health
definitely.
Summit, which is going to be as good as the last year's was, because it was amazing. Should be bigger and better than last year's. But yeah, I think that's the easy one, I guess, for most people who have attended that event. Is it was a pretty moving event, I think, for pretty much everyone that was there.
For
And then
sure.
I guess just to close out, is there any single piece of advice that you could, boil something down to just a single piece of advice to give someone who's trying to start their business, as an ambassador or a health practitioner?
One single thing, huh? Um, I would say maybe just don't be overwhelmed. I hear that all the time. They're so overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge and getting the business set up and finding clients. And I just always try to tell them, you have everything inside of you that you need already. It's
Mhm.
already there, because you're such a special person that you have taken the time to, to do this and to learn this and to want to help others. You have what it takes. And so just be honest, be kind and helpful, make that connection with people, and just be a good listener. You have the community here to support you and to back you up and to help you when you need that. And just go ahead and take that leap of faith. If this is what you want to do, go get it, go do it.
Awesome. Well, that's super inspirational. I don't know, do you have anything else you'd want to share with the community before we wrap up here, or?
I just, I really love this community. It's very special to me, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it. And so I just hope to see everybody there in October. My tickets are
Yep.
bought, so I
Awesome.
will be there. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you there. I'll be there as well. And thank you, Becky. I know this isn't the first thing that you would want to do to hear and get on camera and have an interview, but I thought you were a super valuable person to have on here, and I think there's a lot of really good stuff in this discussion. So I appreciate you stepping up and being the first one of this series that
Sure.
we're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me. It was my honor.
Awesome. Well, I will talk to you over email and I will see you in
Okay.
October, and thank you again for joining me today.
All right. Thanks, Rick.